Welcome in. Another Tuesday is here, and what a Tuesday it is. Gentlemen, we've got a lot to talk about. We've got to talk about what just happened against Wisconsin. Unfortunately, we've got some injuries we need to talk about. Of course, we're going to go tropical. We're going to do the mailman segment. We've got it all for you this evening. But before we can do anything, I got to go around, introduce the panel that y'all know, y'all love. And I'm going to start with the man pointed the wrong way to my right, Daniel Petty.
What's up, guys? Glad to be here on this Tuesday night talking Alabama football.
And then fashionably late, but here we have Chris James.
What's going on, guys? Roll Tide.
3-2.
And next to him is the star of the show, the one, the only, Dan.
What's up, guys? Happy Tuesday night. Ready for another big show. Roll Tide.
Last but certainly not least is the bouncer of the show. You say something we don't like, we just pass it to him. Lushawn, how you doing?
I'm hungry and ready to eat on this off week. We're still going to have fun, guys. We're going to have a little something new for you guys later in the show. It's going to be a lot of fun for the audience, so pay attention. Roll dadgum Tide.
Well, I'll tell you what wasn't a lot of fun for Wisconsin's quarterback is getting hit by LT Overton. It was like watching Stone get dropped on a poor, helpless animal. But speaking of Stone, Petty, where do the people need to know about? Speaking of Stone products.
They need to know about Lambstone because not only is that the place to go, they are our sponsor here at the Final Whistle. And hey, while I'm at it, let me tell you a little bit about them. Have you ever dreamed of having beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Lambstone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all of your project needs. Lambstone is located in Aniana, Alabama, and is one of the oldest, most trusted stone sources in the state. So contact them today. Tell them we sent you and use the promo code TheBamaStandard and receive 10% off your purchase. Go to lambstone.com or go see them in Aniana today. Thank you, Lambstone.
Yeah, thank you, Lambstone. Be sure to check them out, local and supporting a Bama channel. What more do you want? But I know what Bama fans want. They want to hear us talk about this Alabama-Wisconsin recap. And if you're in the chat, be sure to ask any questions you have about this game, about any injury updates, anything we can help out there, recruiting, you name it, ask your questions. We have a special segment at the end where we dive into all of that. So if you ask a question that doesn't get answered immediately, just know it has been starred and we are circling back to it. Can't wait to hear from all of you at the end of this show. Gentlemen.
Yeah, sorry for a second there. I thought Chris James was the hood version of Wilson from Home Improvement.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Oh,
we haven't started the segment yet, so I am free and clear to shout out Jimmy Clay with the $25 donation. Jimmy, thank you not only for the donation, thank you being here with us this evening. Guys, I always say this, the two most valuable assets y'all have, and y'all and everybody in this room, everybody in the chat, is time and health. And I can't tell you how much it means that you're spending your time here with us this evening. Means the world. So thank you for the donation. Thank you for all of your time.
Clay.
Yeah, absolutely. Petty, I'm going to start with you. Alabama, Wisconsin. It was Alabama's first Power 4 test, first time on the road. And I think it's safe to say that they passed with flying colors. What did you think? Because you sat down and talked to a Wisconsin content creator. You kind of had your thumb all over this game. No diddy. What are you thinking?
Man, I'd be honest. It played after I talked to a Wisconsin guy, which really made me dive in more than I probably would have usually. And look, I know we like to do our deep dives here at the Final Whistle and the Bama Standard to know our opponents. But again, talking with a Wisconsin guy, I got to go a little deeper than even usual. And I came away thinking there's no way Bama doesn't dominate this game. It's just a bad matchup for Wisconsin. They don't have the speed on the perimeter to sit with Bama, and you saw that with Milroe constantly getting to the outside and then working it, and then the receivers just running wide open. But likewise, I didn't think they were going to be able to move the ball, even if Van Dyke doesn't go out, which I hate that, man. I hate to see a kid go out. I wanted Bama to get that test on defense. But even with that, the kid got in and got comfortable. I'm sure I don't think it really mattered. I think Alabama was just so much more physical and more talented. LT Overton just dominating, Jahad Campbell looking like that vintage Alabama linebacker busting people's heads. Again, after talking with the Wisconsin guy, very rarely do you say, I think this is exactly how a game's going to play out and it go to script. That's the beauty of college football. Crazy shit always happens. Well, it really didn't, man. It went to script. Bama showed up. That I really think they're finding an identity with their offense and how they're going to use Milroe in the run game. And I think we're going to see more zone read as it comes. I think we're getting some eye candy for future teams to open up some different plays. But so still not having to use everything, I thought it was a dominant performance, and I thought it went to script, man.
100% agree. And guys, before I pass this to Chris James, I would just like to pat myself on the back real quick. I've made 3 predictions thus far this year. I said that Sabb was going to have the first interception. I said that Kendrick Law was going to have the first touchdown, and I called the score of this game 42-10.
On the dot.
And Alabama went out there and did it. Chris, talk to us about what Alabama did in this game.
Well, I said 41-9, so I was close. But
it only counts in horseshoes.
Oh man,
and hand grenades.
Yeah, you beat me to it. Yeah.
And what else, Petty?
And hand grenades.
Yeah, you don't have to be that accurate with a hand grenade as it would, stand to reason. You just gotta be.
But yeah, guys, the game went as expected pretty much. I thought that we would see some Kendrick Law, or Kobe Prentice getting a little more. And I expected Jan Miller to have not Jan Miller, but Justice Haynes to have a bigger impact. But outside of that, though, man, it was a thing of beauty, man. So the Ryan Williams, expecting him to have a big play every game isn't can't actually be expected, because that dude is unreal as a freshman, man. But the thing that I was encouraged the most to see was Pierre and Coot and all those guys rotating in and making their presence felt. I was like, God, man, like we never really rotated that much under Saban.
Right. Like, what we did early in the earlier years.
Yeah. The later years, we didn't rotate that much like that. So to see those guys, those backups, those guys stay fresh and keep each other fresh, and see those guys in and out throughout the defense, and then the offensive line, man. Oh my God, the time that they gave them, man, it looked like Saban was on that sideline. The type of beatdown we gave those guys, man. So I feel, and then after watching Georgia Saturday night, I feel completely confident in us being able to go out there and win that ball game next Saturday, man. I really believe we have something in store for those flea mutts.
Hey, I like the confidence, no doubt about it. Dan, I want to pass it to you, but Chris said something that I do want to bring to the forefront as I give this to you, just so that you can speak on it, so that you can reference this as well. Caden Proctor's first game back, right? Talking about the offensive line, what it showed, Chris. But Caden Proctor was the highest graded offensive lineman in this game in his first start back. What did his return mean for Alabama, and what was your takeaway in this Alabama versus Wisconsin game?
The biggest thing Caden Proctor's return meant for Bama meant that exactly how the game played out. We were going to be able to eat between the tackles. It allowed Tyler Booker to move back to his natural position at left guard. And you see what happened when we ran the ball between the tackles. We were able to impose our will on them. We had gaping holes. So, Caden Proctor coming back was huge, And you can't state that enough. But, him coming back, kind of gave us life, kind of similar to what, every year we get somebody to come in and bring the juice. A couple of years ago, it was Landon Dickerson. Then even before that, who was it? Who was the guard that we put in? Deontay Brown, the LSU game. He came in, and the offensive line tended to come together. Then last year it was Jaden Roberts. Came in, and things like that tends to happen. You get when you get the right 5 on the field, good things happen for Alabama. And that's what Caden Proctor coming back allowed us to be able to do.
I love it. And continuity at the offensive line,
Right.
so key. And in the offensive line, you can practice it in spring, you can practice it in fall. That all sounds great until you get in live action. And I was blown away. And I have been hopeful for the offensive line, but critical. Because for the past 2 seasons, let's be honest, the name of the channel is the Bama Standard. And the offensive line for Alabama has had incredible pieces. But as a unit, it has not lived up to that standard this year. Seems like they're well on their way. Lushawn, talk to me about this Wisconsin game.
I thought they played very well. They represented the University of Alabama in a good way. It's a lot of their first big road tests for real. Like, I know a lot of them ain't been up to the north, so I think they played well. I think they didn't let the environment get to them like everybody said it would. I think that speaks a lot to the preparation that Kalen DeBoer had for the week and the game plan that they executed. And two, I was impressed with the discipline that they were able to exhibit. Even though there were some penalties and some mishaps throughout the game, they still maintained I would definitely say a very positive way about how they went about their business. Even though they made mistakes, they were able to recover quickly and correct those mistakes. So I would grade them definitely an A for this game. And they set themselves up with the momentum they had in this game. And I think that's important going into a bye week. You want to finish the game on a positive note.
I couldn't agree more. And going into a bye week with that continuity, it allows the offensive line to understand what they have. And to me, it wasn't just Caden Proctor coming back, guys. It was the fact that the offensive line as a whole played with so much more confidence. And Daniel, you and I talked about this last week, that I thought, even going into USF, all due respect to Wisconsin, I think Fickell's a hell of a coach. I think they have some really good players. But I have a book right there called The Boxing Companion. And one thing I've learned through watching so much boxing, so much UFC, styles make fights. And USF has hit a in the flux offensive line for Alabama, a patchwork offensive line for Alabama 2 years in a row and created chaos. Mm-hmm. I didn't think Wisconsin was going to do the same thing. Like, sure, they may have blitzed at a higher rate, but you don't abandon your identity. So my takeaways in this game, one, I think that trying to throw on this defense has proved really difficult. But when teams are throwing on this defense, it's attacking the slot players, whether that's Red Morgan or Devontae Smith. I'm interested in seeing how they address that because I think both of those guys are very talented, and I have no doubt that will be addressed. And it was really encouraging to hear Womack talk about that. Keep a bookmark in that, though. We're going to circle back around to those Womack comments. On offense, offensive line was the story, but Jalen Milroe, ladies and gentlemen, people have asked, is he progressing as a quarterback? Well, let's actually go through the stats. He was 4 for 4 at or behind the line of scrimmage, 3 for 3 from 0 to 10 yards, 1 for 2 on 10 to 20 yards, and the throw that he missed at the 10 to 20 yard range, he and Jeremy Bernard were not on the same page. He thought Bernard was going to take the route longer than he did, so he kind of overthrew him. Happens. 20 plus yards, 4 for 7. You're not going to find many quarterbacks hitting 4 for 7 on deep shots in college football, yet here we are. Jalen was also 3 for 4 when he threw against the blitz, including a touchdown. So we are seeing the progression, but do understand it's early. He had an offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien that straight up refused to coach him as a quarterback. He then had Tommy Rees, who did his best. I have no ill will towards Tommy Rees. I think that he did what he could. And now he's got a great cast around him. Ryan Williams continues to be impressive. LT Overton, Jahad Campbell, the whole lot of them. But gentlemen, I want to roundtable this real fast. So whatever order, just raise up a hand and I'll call on you. There's no rhyme or reason to this. We heard Kane Womack say this week that they were still in the rollout phase of the defense, so to speak, and that we haven't seen a lot of it. I happen to believe that's the case for the offense as well. Why? First play of the second quarter. second half, I'm sorry, you had Jalen Milroe roll out the pocket and he hit Jeremy Bernard for a big gain. When I saw that play, I thought back to the first game where Jalen Milroe ran an RPO, then ran out the pocket and hit Caleb Odom for a first down. I think we're still in the rollout phase and infancy of the offense, and all they've been doing is drilling the bare bone basics of what it is. Petty, you brought up that Cuevas touchdown. The route combination on that was beautiful, but also Williams' touchdown. You had a short route to the outside, Ryan Williams in the slot, kept the outside cornerback in deep. Safety had no time to get over top. So whoever wants to start on this, go ahead. Do you think that we are just scratching the surface on offense, and we know that we are on defense? What do you think that looks like?
Go ahead, Dan. No, go for it, Dan.
Okay, yeah, I think without a doubt we're in the early stages of it. You know, we're putting in wrinkles each week. You know, and that's one thing that's very dynamic about it. You know, having a dual threat quarterback that Jalen Milroe is. You know, I've seen progression from him. You know, as a pass, he's still learning. You know, like simple things like we used to get frustrated about. You know, taking sacks outside of the pocket. You know, I was glad to see in the second half of the USF game where, you know, when you got outside the pocket, it's not there. He started throwing the ball away, you know, which is a good thing. That's what you want to see first. You know, there's no need for us with this explosive offense to be taking 14, 15-yard sacks. You don't want to get too far behind the chain, you know, but, you know, I still want to see him continue to, you know, to progress into taking more check downs, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's good. He's keeping and another thing he improved in is his keeping his eyes downfield when he's scrambling. He has made tremendous strides in that part of his game, which is going to make him even more dangerous. You know, he hasn't tapped into his full potential. He's still growing. You know, guys develop throughout the year. You know, it don't just develop from during the offseason. They developed throughout the year. He continued to make strides just as much as he did from game 1 to game 14 last year. You know, he's continuing to grow. You know, he was a completely different quarterback from the Texas game that he was in the Michigan game. You know, so he's growing, and you know, it's gonna be a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. I think we've only seen, and look, if you go back to the game, and not to knock Wisconsin, I know they're a name brand, but Alabama hasn't had to run much to beat the teams they played to this point. They've been able to dominate. And I know USF game got ugly, as Ty mentioned, because the offensive line was kind of out of whack. But look, we saw the full force of the offensive line this weekend, and we still didn't see that diverse of a playbook. We didn't go deep into it. I mean, we got to the, second quarter, and we were seeing about maybe 4 or 5 different plays, and the pass routes were just out of different formations and stuff. So, I mean, hell yeah, because if you think this is this is page 2 or 3 of DeBoer and Sheridan's playbook. So absolutely, I fully feel, look, man, one of the things that make the greatest offensive coordinators in this generation great is their ability to set stuff up in game 1, 2, or 3 that's setting eye candy up for your bigger games in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, where they've looked at film for 3 or 4 games. They think they know what's coming, and you pop their ass with something else. So absolutely, I felt like that whole second half, every bit of it was a setup, because the whole time I'm screaming, when are we gonna go more RPO or more, not RPO, more zone read with Milroe, because we're setting it up, and we didn't do it. We were setting it up for later in the season because it didn't need to do it. And I feel like we're going to see more of that as the season progresses in the RPO game and the zone read. So yeah, absolutely. I feel like, again, didn't need it. You saw that you were going to dominate that game. And look, man, coaches aren't stupid. You got Georgia coming up in 2 weeks. No need to go deeper into the playbook unless you had to at that point.
100%. And I saw someone in the comments mention Van Dyke going down. What I don't think a lot of people realized, and Petty, you probably heard this from the Wisconsin people, that guy that was their quarterback, Locke, pushed Van Dyke until the
Mhm.
beginning of this season, and it actually surprised some Wisconsin people when Van Dyke was named the starter because they thought it was going to be Luck. So yeah, Van Dyke has the experience, and we know how valuable experience is. I don't undervalue that, but there wasn't a massive difference between the two, right? That's something to keep in mind. Chris, you have anything to add? I'd kind of like to get your take on where you think this defense could go, being that you played on that side of the ball.
Well, I feel like this defense has a lot more in store. One thing that I think we're going to see more of the Jones kid from Wake Forest, because it seems like our freshmen are playing a step slower, but they really haven't been, I guess to say, challenged or tested like yet. But I expect, especially in a slot where Red Morgan is. I know he's a backup to Devontae Smith, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like King Mack get a look, start to get some looks right there. And the Deshaun Jones kid from Wake Forest, man, I really like him. I think that he's gonna come up big for us at some point this year because he plays with. You got to understand, he was the man at Wake. You know, Wake isn't a bad program, so I think that once he gets comfortable and it's starting to show that he's going to be a really big factor, opposite the Money Jackson. But where I think you're going to see the biggest changes especially Georgia, I think you're going to see like what we saw from Kentucky Saturday night. Man, they were on Georgia's neck, and I expect to see more blitz packages, more pressure, because I don't think their corners can. I mean, their receivers really can beat our DBs one-on-one, to the point to where, you know, it's gonna make a heck of a difference if we were to send pressure and they end up on the island with them. So I expect to see a lot of pressure packages, man, and to try to force Georgia into more turnovers, because like just watching them, man, nothing, not to sound crazy or anything, but their offense doesn't seem as scary under Bobo as it did Todd Monken. Because Todd Monken was the best in the business, man. At the scripted plays, the first 15 to 20 plays of the game, man, Todd Monken used to have Georgia get up on you 14-0, and it was ball game. And it seems like now they're struggling to find their rhythm. And plus not having Brock Bowers, that was huge too. Those other tight ends are good and young, but they're not Brock Bowers, not yet, at least anyway. So I expect this defense to start playing, to start pressuring more. I felt like because we were so young in the secondary, we kind of kept it kind of vanilla, you know, the first couple of games to be able to get their feet wet, to see how they'll respond to certain things, and so far so good. They've responded well. I just think that you're going to see a whole lot more. I really think that the top is gonna come off on both sides of the ball this next week, especially when you have a bye week to plan for. So those things that we've seen the board man big games, man, when he was at Washington. I like Dan can tell you, I didn't think that he'd beat Oregon twice. I didn't think he was going to beat Texas, you know. So he slayed the Giant, you know, with inferior talent. So I know that he's going to have a game plan ready, and I expect to see, man. I think against Georgia, I think he's going to see a lot more Milrow. I think it's going to be a lot more runs, design runs for Milrow, because they're not a team that like most of the time you think about Georgia in the past, they've been guys that have interior defensive linemen that dominate. But when was the last time Georgia had a really dominant edge rushers? Think about it. That it's been a while. So I think that with the way our O-line has been playing, I really think that you're going to see more power football with Proctor being back and Pritchard on the right side. So we're about to open it up, man. Probably some RPOs on the offensive side, probably more RPOs. Because you think about it, man. Can you imagine Ryan Williams running that slant route and catching it and hitting that seam. Oh man, it's gonna be a thing of beauty, man. Or Kendrick Law.
One of the things I keep thinking of, and Lou, I'm about to pass it to you, but I did want to give me 30 seconds to get this out. Everybody talks about what happens if they take away the deep ball. In order to do that, because of the speed Bama has, you have to go too high safety. You go too high safety, you thin out the box. They're going to run Jam. They're going to run Justice. They're going to run Jalen. They're going to run Hill. I mean, goodness gracious, we've barely seen Hill. He's 235 pounds and will run straight through you, Lushawn. Talk to me. What remains to be seen? And also Chris Williams, yeah, you might have your linebackers playing like whatever, but your quarterback plays like Brucey from Longest Yard. And until that's solved, I don't know what to tell you.
Brucey.
Damn, Todd.
I'm on you, Chris.
Bama Nation, listen up. I'm going to put this real simple and plainly. If you think that our coaching staff has shown anything in the first few games of the season, you've lost your mind. This is an offense and a defense based off of experience, depth, and reaction to what the defense is going to give them. And they've only seen 3 defenses. So as this season goes on, you're going to see not just the offense, but the defense take steps forward and progress and get more complex. Because as they play different people, if we alluded to in the SEC, the opponents are different. So our offense is not going to be the same week to week. Our defensive scheme is not going to be the same week to week. And at the same time, Kalen DeBoer has assembled a coaching staff of guys who not only think individually and intuitively, they think as a team. And when you have that many great minds thinking for one goal, it's going to be pretty difficult to scheme against not only Nick Sheridan, not only Kalen DeBoer, not only Jamarcus Shepard, not only every one of our other offensive coaches. At the same time, you're going against all of our defensive coaches scheming against you. And we have a week to go with. So, guys, stay strapped in because we're about to see some shit. And college football is going to be the same place they've always been, hating Alabama. Especially you, Chris Williams. But I still love you, though, partner. Keep coming back.
Dude, Chris is going back to mid-'90s, early '90s Bama throwing out names, just letting me know that in that closet, Chris Williams does have a '90s Bama bomber.
Before we get into some bad news, let's get into some good news. And that's Jimmy Clay with another $20 saying, get rid of the fleas, roll tide, roll. Well, I may not have fleas, but I'm certainly appreciative for the $20, Jimmy Clay. Means the world to us. Thank you once again for being here this evening and all of the support. Guys, as great as the win was at Wisconsin, there was a downside, and that's Alabama took some unfortunate injuries. Now, DeBoer has talked about it. Seems like things could be positive, but at the end of the day, you're going to need Malachi. You're going to need Qua. You're going to need Richard Young later in the season because I think we're still seeing the surface. I'm going to reverse the order this time. Lushawn, talk to me about these injuries. What are you thinking, and what's the importance of getting these guys back healthy?
You know, it's never a good thing, especially this early in the season, when anybody gets hurt on any team. And, you know, I say that to you, especially Chris Williams. It hurts the team, but at the same time, it gives other people an opportunity. So there might be a positive point that we can pull out of it. We might see some other players have to step up, which does nothing but build depth for later in the season. Now, as far as the Malachi Moore injury, I think we can all, it goes without saying, that's probably the most important and the one most people are worried about. He's been in this program the longest. He's been a staple. He's a captain. He's basically the voice and the heartbeat of not just the defense, the team. So getting him back is a critical thing for the Alabama defense and the Alabama team as whole as far as leadership goes. But we've seen him, even when he's not in the game, be a coach and be a leader. So I'm not worried about Malachi at all. Qua Russaw, on the other hand, I know a whole lot of people will take positives from the game on Saturday, but you could definitely see a difference when that young man is not on the field, especially when it comes to running the run game and then setting an edge. Qua is a dog when it comes to both of those things, and him not being in the game exposed us to some certain things. Now, we did make some certain changes with the lineup. We saw Jan Pierre come in and step up, and like I know Dan's excited. That was, a guy we were really excited about. Now he's put in the work. He's big enough, and guys, he's physical. So I'm really excited about that. And the other one, Richard Young, man, that one hurts because I like to have that third running back, and his season what he was about to have. And I'm not saying it's done by any means, folks. What I'm saying, like, what he was to our offense, I mean, he got hurt on an 8-9 yard run, busted through the defense. I mean, so that's just another horse in the stable that we're going to be able to use down the season. Now, it's going to give way to maybe a couple freshmen, a couple guys that, maybe wouldn't get a look in a Daniel Hill, which we're all real excited about. But at the same time, it hurts because, that's another Alabama player down that none of us like to see. But injuries are going to happen. That's why you build depth. That's why you have so many people on the team. That's why it is important to, basically defeat the transfer portal. And I think Caleb DeBoer and company have done a great job of establishing a roster and the coaches to withstand the season.
Love it. Love it. And one of the things you hit on is being able to set the edge. That's been one of the weaknesses of Alabama's defense, but Russaw's a young guy. And you were seeing him grow, and I loved the ceiling he had. I love what Q-Rob has shown. I think he's really grown. I think he fits this defense. He is an amazing pure pass rusher. But Dan, giving the fact that one of the weaknesses of Alabama's defense right now, and there's not many, I think far fewer than most people would anticipate, is that outside run. What do these injuries mean going into a bye week? How are we looking for Georgia, which we're not going to go too much in depth on, but is on the horizon?
That's the thing. Right now, the injuries mean nothing, because the good news is none of them were very significant, as Stephen M. Smith reported in the post game. So the injury report now really means nothing. The injury report I'm waiting on is come next Monday. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the one we're gonna be waiting on. So definitely Qua Russaw. We're gonna have to have him. But because I'm fine. I'm fine with Georgia moving the ball down the field. That's what teams been able to do. Teams been able to move the ball downfield on us. But me being the arrogant Bama fan that I am, I'm so confident in our ability to strike quickly. You know what I'm saying? So we have a very explosive offense. So we can afford to let teams go on drives, and but it's bad throughout the season on the defense. Having them on the field so much. But us being able to score quickly at any point on the field, that's a good thing, especially in a game like this. Georgia, they're gonna come. We're not gonna see the same Georgia team that we saw against Kentucky. You better believe that. We're definitely not gonna see that. So Georgia's gonna bring their A game, but I think our offense is gonna be up to the task. We'll see. I'll get my prediction next week. But I think we'll be ready. But the main thing is this week. You want to get everybody healthy. We want to put them in the black no contact jersey. Go from there, then assess it. Next week.
Speaking of assessing, Chris, you look like you're assessing that pinky finger right there. What are you thinking about these injuries?
Like Dan alluded to, I'm happy that none were significant. That's something that's going to keep any of those guys out for a long period of time, especially Malachi Moore on the back end. Like a game like Georgia, you have to have him out there. He's a must. Richard Young, thank God we're loaded at back, but he's a guy that can give you a few meaningful carries, and he's the next man up if one of the two of Jam Miller or Justice Haynes were to go down. So And Russaw. Oh my God, man. We need that explosion. Whatever they got to do, put him in a cryo chamber, whatever you want to call it. What you call it? The cryotherapy chamber.
Yeah.
Put him in there, man, and have that ankle right, because I think he's gonna have it, man. So I'm just happy that none were season ending, unlike Van Dyke's injury, which is very unfortunate, for a guy to get to where he was. But before I pass it, I saw a prediction from Darius Fountain: Georgia 48, Bama 23. Well, it must mean in girls basketball or something, because Georgia's not putting up 48 points on Bama. I'm sorry. Even when Georgia had great offense, what's the most they put up on us?
I can't even remember.
33 in the championship game that was missing
24, wasn't it 24 the most points they've scored on them?
No, the 33-18 championship game.
Oh,
when we were missing our two corners. But if you flip it around now, that's more believable. Now you go out and ask everybody who saw all these teams play the first 3 weeks, saw both of these offenses and defenses, and ask which one's more likely. I think it'll be more the other way around. Not to say Georgia's defense is bad, it's just the fact that it's laughable to think Georgia offense is going to put up 40-something anything on Bama.
Yeah. No, listen, the one area of Georgia's offense I do like is their running back room, but they've had some injuries there, right? Like they've got some dudes in it, some dudes that I think are extremely talented, but unfortunately, Petty, as we're talking about injuries, and we won't focus on this, Tate Rutledge went down for Georgia. Ooh. And I mean, you want to talk about a massive piece to their interior offensive line, but focusing more on Alabama's injuries. What did you think about hearing what DeBoer said about the state of these injuries? Are you confident that they will be ready to rock and roll for Georgia?
Yeah, I think Young's the most significant. I know his lower leg or ankle injury or whatever could be a problem. But like Chris alluded to, we do have depth there, so we're good. But Malachi went through concussion protocol; he's good to go. So I mean, they're not worried about that. Russaw is going to be good to go. So you got the week off, and Justin May can chime in if there's more to Russaw. I don't know, but Russaw's good to go. So I mean, you got the week off. The only one that's significant is Young at this point. So no, the other two, I mean, you'll see them ready for Georgia.
I absolutely hate that for him, and hopefully it's something where within 3 to 4 weeks, Young is ready to come back, rock and roll. Because I mean, y'all know I'm very high on his upside, very high on what he's able to do, and just very, very excited to see what the prognosis is come next week once we get some more information. But we were talking about this Alabama Georgia game, guys, and Chris, you're basically alluding that Georgia's in the danger zone. Let me tell everybody something right now. Everybody is in the danger zone right now because it's that time of the show to pass it to Lushan for the danger zone.
Guys, this week in the danger zone, I'm going to focus on two main things. It's a bye week, so it's very simple what they need to get better at. I'm going to start on the defensive side of the football. It's SEC football time. We got a bye week to get ready. I'm putting our tackling in space in the danger zone because in the SEC, if you miss a tackle, that could be a house call. And guys, we know we're going to be facing some teams that got some athletes that can get up and down the field. And we're going to need to make those tackles the first time we get them because we're not going to get 2 opportunities like some of the times we've had against some of these other teams. Not to saying we can't make those plays, not to saying we're not going to have those abilities to make those plays. I'm saying we need to execute better on the defensive side of the football, especially when it comes to getting a running back down on the edges. Now, as far as who I'm going to put in the danger zone on the offensive side, to me, it's simple. It's knowing your job and doing your job and being disciplined in your job. The offense has had a lot of big plays called back. And like I just said, we're coming into SEC play. You're not going to get a second chance to do things. So we need to clean up that. We need to kind of get a little bit better at feeling out the emotions of the game. Sometimes I feel like our offense might be a little emotional at times, and they just need to calm down and dial it back. Not saying, again, we have all these abilities. It's just about getting more experience, like Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan said they just need to get more reps. And the more experience these guys get, I think they'll be successful. But in this bye week, for real, the bottom line is just getting healthy and focusing on getting better at your job. Because if everybody does their job, we're not going to need to even have a conversation on what's going to happen against those Mutts next weekend.
Love it. Love it. And I'll tell you what else Chris seems to love. He says, I don't piss on nothing but the Tide. Chris, we're not surprised as an Auburn fan. You use the bathroom outside. That's why there are toilet paper hanging from y'all's trees all the time. It's just what y'all do. But talking about the danger zone, guys, I want to rapid fire this. Send it around the table. Petty, I'm going to start with you. Anything that you have in the danger zone that Alabama must fix going into Georgia and for the season?
Yeah. And look, I know we're setting some stuff up offensively, but I would like to see some more sustained drives. I'd like to see, we've kind of lived and died by the big play to this point, and there's going to come a time in SEC play where you're not going to hit on all those big plays. You got to kind of sustain drives, work some clock. And, there's a point in the time game where they were really killing us in time of possession and still kind of not getting off on third down at times. But that's it. I want to see some more sustained drives if I'm being nitpicky.
No, I don't think that's nitpicky. Listen, I think that scoring in, 36 seconds that they did before half, that's unbelievable to know that you can do it. But you want to be a team. The best pitchers out there, they can throw that fastball, but they have a curveball if that batter starts keying into their fastball, right? You want to be multiple, and I do believe we're getting there, but I can't even say you're being picky. I think that is a principled thing you'd like to see worked on. Chris, what would you like to see worked on? Where is the danger zone for you?
I think that we give up too much on the ground. We need to shore up the defensive line, especially the interior. Like we rush the passer well, but when it comes against the run, we're not boiling up against it like we should boil up against it. And Georgia's going to test that early and often. So we definitely have to shore up the interior run game, and those linebackers have to continue filling gaps.
Right. That's it.
That's it.
Right.
Dan, do you want to elaborate on that? And Justin, thank you very much for the heads up. I knew that there was 36 seconds on the clock left, but you're right. There was more time left on the clock when Alabama scored. So thank you for that heads up correction.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Like Chris said, filling the run fits, filling the gaps on the run. But, my thing, I want to put in the danger zone is that we've been seeing for 3 consecutive weeks. That's receivers getting open in our secondary. We haven't had a quarterback to hit and capitalize on it yet. But that's something I want to fix ASAP. That's one thing I want to put in the danger zone. Let's do a better job of bracketing the receivers. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I want to put in the danger zone.
I love it. I love it. Like I said, whenever I've looked at how we've been attacked, it is the slot. And King Matt could be a name there. For me, guys, the danger zone is two areas. I apologize. First and foremost, we got to shore up the edge. And this kind of goes into what Chris was talking about. And a lot of the times they've had success running the football. Sure, there was some runs up the middle, but that was few and far between through 3 weeks. Most of it has came on the outside. That's something I want to see shored up because Georgia has some running backs that are like 225, 230 pounds. You don't really want to let them get to the third level of your defense on the edge. So that's one area. The second area for me is just passing over the middle. That I think is something Georgia, y'all talked about it earlier. There's no Monken in there anymore, but they'll be all too happy to just park Delp in the middle and just try to get 5 yards a pop, right? That's something they're going to do. And that's really it for me, but we are getting nitpicky. But I'll tell you what's not nitpicky. You want to wave it around like you just don't care. And that's our other sponsor for this show. Petty, take it
Title
away.
Towel.
Look, I thought you were talking about my hair.
Is there a better way?
Not since 75.
Is there a better way to teach the Bulldogs to behave? If you're heading to Tuscaloosa for the big game of, I mean, maybe one of the biggest games of the year, Georgia, Alabama coming to T-Town. Look, you can't go without your title towel. Go to whitwillsports.com today. Tell them the promo code standard and you will get a discount. And do not show up empty-handed to Titletown when we teach those Bulldogs to behave and send their asses back to Athens with a big old L, the first one in regular season in what seems like, I guess, since COVID started. But no, get that title towel today. whitwillsports.com, one of the greatest supporters of the Bama Standard Network, been with us for a long time, always in our show, always in our chats. We love you guys. Thank you for the support. So fans, go to whitwillsports.com today and get your title towel. Again, promo code the standard to get that discount.
Love it. Love it. While Auburn fans are whipping around toilet paper, we have title towels, and that separates the haves from the have-nots. Now, I know you're about to do some roasting, but I just got to get one. Chris says, how does it feel to know that your imminent demise is just a couple weeks away? I don't know. How did it feel when you played Cal? Boom, roasted. Mailbag time with Petty.
Ooh, Chris,
Hey, how does it feel to be
you were so lucky, Chris.
defeated?
Fans have found my email, and I'm not about to jump on those towels are better for extra absorbent. Oh, that's what your coach said. Anyway, I did get some messages from the fans this week. As always, some snarky shit, but also some good questions, and I'll touch on a little bit of it all. Sparky from Gainesville says, Petty, you ready to help Kiff pack for Gainesville? Sparky? Did they call you that because you're what started the dumpster fire that is Florida football? I think you need to go back to my show last night with Tyler Siskey, where we explained the exact place that is Florida football between Vanderbilt and somewhere between South Carolina. Your NIL sucks. You're going to have to pay a shit ton to get rid of your coach, a shit ton more to get a new coach, and then you got to do all the recruiting. And you're talking about hiring Kiff and Drinkowitz when they're going to be in the playoffs and going to – yeah, okay. Now, keep dreaming, Spark. But go back to my show last night with Siskey, and we'll break it down even more eloquent. Bonnie from Wetumpka. Was McAfee feeding Saban that tomahawk steak the sexiest thing you've ever seen on TV? Absolutely, Bonnie. Absolutely it was. Chris from – it kind of got a little weird. Chris from Opelika. Has Hugh found his guy in Hank Brown? No, Chris, I'm sorry. I think y'all are going to be firing up another jet after this game to try to get Petrino for the second time away from another school to finally get a good coach. All right. Finally, Elrod from between Georgia, actually a place. I looked it up. Over under Georgia, more losses or players arrested before the season ends? Whew. That's a tough one, man. I had to think about it. Georgia could have 3 losses on that schedule. And look, I know they did this a year or so ago when they went to Missouri, lost, won a game really ugly, had to get a field goal, miss a field goal, can't remember exactly. And then they just turned into a ball of butcher knives. But I'm sorry, there's something off in this Georgia offense. And they've got to go on the road to 3 Hornets' nest that want to get that ass. I very much think Georgia could end up with 3 losses this year. And maybe getting excited just because what we saw up at Kroger Field. But, man, there's something off with that offense. However, the Georgia Highway Patrol ain't playing around. So I'm taking the over on the arrest. We're going to at least get 6-7 more guys arrested before this season ends. And that's it for Petty's Mailbag.
Petty, what's the greatest rivalry in sports now?
Georgia versus the Highway State Patrol.
My man.
Duke, North Carolina basketball. Ohio, Michigan, nobody cares. Iron Bowl, Georgia, and that Highway Patrol. Woo! Watch out, Bulldogs.
Always a treat every week whenever Petty does the Q&A mailbag session. That really is becoming probably my favorite thing I look forward to. But I also look forward to this right here. And that's when we take the questions that all of you have asked during the show. As Justin throws them out, we'll assign a question to everybody. If you want that question, you raise your hand, talk on it, and we are going to answer everything y'all want. By the way, no Diddy on that coming for your ass line, Petty, right? You needed to throw the no Diddy in there. That was a missed opportunity.
It was a missed op, very, very much.
That's fine. That's fine. You did a great job.
Man,
Lushawn.
You know my Diddy game.
Hey, when your Q&A mailbag game is that strong, you can have misses, and it's perfectly fine, right? I'll allow it. Tough as Nails asked for Lushawn. What did you think of the linebacker play? Are we solid?
I think we're solid. I think they need to get more physical, but I think also they might have. I'm not saying been holding back, but I think playing in the SEC brings a little bit more fire, a little bit more rage to their play. So I think we are solid at linebacker. They still need to show me some things. I still need to see, like we talked about, I still need to see the edge runs get cleaned up. We also need to see the middle get a little bit protected better as far as pass coverage goes. But as a whole, I think our linebackers are doing well, with the exception of finishing, as our defensive coordinator likes to say, as getting the quarterback on the ground. But as a whole, I think we're solid.
Love it. Love it. I think it's impossible to disagree with that. Van Edwards. Oh, boy. He says, can we talk about how Jam Miller is harder to tackle than Shannon Sharp on a Blue Chew and a Honey Pack?
No, we can't.
No, we cannot. And he is also explosive as hell, man.
Yeah.
Like
You talking about Jam
Are we
Miller?
talking about Shannon or
we
Jam?
talking about Jam. We talk about Shannon.
Well, no, Diddy. But we're talking about Jam, right? I know that the Shannon Sharp Instagram fiasco just happened. I'm not talking about that kind of explosion. I'm talking about Jam Miller running the football. That explosion. That's what I'm here talking
That's
about.
my Michelle.
Oh my. Dr. Strange asks, what can Alabama do to expose Georgia? It seems Georgia offense is elite. What can Georgia do to expose Alabama? It seems Alabama defense is weak against the rush and deep outs. Gentlemen, I'll start with this one. What can Alabama do to expose Georgia? This is a great question. Kirby's Kirby. He's a hell of a coach. But when I say Kirby is Kirby, what I mean is Kirby's going to play man until you get him out of man. We've seen this time and time again. Think back to Jameson. He just straight up said, my cornerback on Jameson until you make me adjust. He's going to do the same thing here. So how Alabama can expose Georgia is try and make them pay for the man-to-man. Also, I know last time they used some spies on Milroe. Pin and pull can really alleviate some of the pressure a spy brings on designed quarterback runs against man, because your offensive linemen are working in space to mitigate the factor of those guys spying Jalen Milroe. Plus, we saw some plays like last week. I know Kendrick Law missed the block, but that type of thing where Milroe ended up getting the touchdown, that can make all the difference. What can Georgia do to expose Alabama? Well, Georgia can run the ball very well, right? Like, I completely agree with everybody here. I don't think their offense is what it was last year, but they still have a really deep stable of running backs, especially if they're healthy. Nate Frazier is a guy Nick Saban talked about. He thought was probably the best running back in the nation last year. I mean, he's a 10-4, 10-5 guy, 100-meter dash. You don't want to let him get to the edge without anybody touching him, because he has the ability to hit a home run. They can extend drives. So Alabama has got to shore up the exterior of their defense, shut down that run, and not allow Georgia to dink and dunk down the field. If Alabama can keep Georgia's offense on the sideline, I know that they're not the threat that they've been in the past, but it's about time of possession in this game. And Alabama is going to have to make Georgia get out of that man coverage by being explosive, which I absolutely think they can do. If anybody has anything else to add to that, that's my view on it.
Yeah. I feel like what Alabama can do to expose Georgia. Alabama, I feel like tempo, getting those guys tired, just running them up and down the field, especially with Miro, just tempo. Keep your foot on the gas and get those guys, don't give Kirby time to set up those elaborate, elaborate blitzes or those elaborate defensive, play calls. Just make them have to go to something quick. Don't let them sit back and see what you're doing and what you're subbing and then adjust to it. So make them have to go. And then on the other hand, what Georgia can do, I feel like Georgia will try to take some of that aggression and use it against us. Like get those running back on wheel routes. Try to attack those slots. Like because you see in the passing game, guys like Saab and those guys, man, they're coming down here breaking stuff up, man. Like they're playing blanket coverage. So just try to get some misdirection going, get Etienne on the edge. But I'm not sure how well that'll work because I mean, if it didn't work on Kentucky, it probably not going. It's probably not going to work on us. But in the game of field position, man, whoever brings their punter, because Burnett was booming them, man.
Wasn't he? Yeah.
He's been great.
Yeah, he's been great, man. If we can keep Georgia backed up, man, I really just see them having a hard time sustaining drives. You know, because something just seemed off about Beck the other night. He seemed out of rhythm, like his timing was off. Something I don't know what it was, but it just didn't seem right.
He probably went to did his party the night before.
Do y'all think Overton and Q Rob will get more snaps? Dan, what you thinking?
Well, if Overton's getting more snaps, you know that I don't know. I'd be concerned because he's been getting enough reps and he's been making them count. You know, Q Rob he probably is, but you know, against Georgia, I'm not sure. You know, that's not his type of matchup other than third downs. He's not a 1 or 2 down linebacker just yet. You know, so Q Rob Overton, he'll get his fair share. It depends on what we hear on Russaw as far as Q Rob, I'd say.
Yeah, if we get Georgia into 3rd and long, send in Q Rob because he has been dastardly as a pass rusher.
Yeah,
Holy moly. He is blown. I mean, he's just been so good there. We're going to take one more. Throw it to me, Justin. Ooh, good one. We're going to rapid fire this one, gentlemen. Tough as Nails asks, will Jam Miller get 100 yards rushing? Dan Petty, talk to me.
Against Georgia?
Yes, sir.
I don't know, man, because we've been like it's been such a 3-headed monster. If anybody does it, it is Jam. I'll say that because I do think Jam has kind of separated himself a little bit. He's got a little bit, and I love Justice. Justice was kind of my guy going in. He was my pick to click. But through 3 games so far, I feel like Jam's got just a little bit more spark and pop. So I will say if we have a 100-yard rusher in that game, yeah, Jam's going to be the guy to get it.
I like that phrase, pick to click. That has a nice little ring to it. Lushawn, will Jam get 100 yards?
I'm going to go with no. And here's my reasoning. This is against Georgia. The Georgia boy going to eat against his home state and really shove it in Kirby's face on how you don't let a hometown recruit go to Alabama.
Wow.
That's a hell of an answer. Dan, will Jam get 100 yards?
My question to that is no for another reason. And I'm going to say, you know, I don't know if he'll get enough touches to do it. You know, we're gonna spread the ball around, you know. Milroe in the running game, he's going to take some of the carries away. Justice Haynes, you know, going to take some, you know, and our ability to hit the big play. So I don't know. You know, it's a combination of everything. As a team rushing, I would say I would take the over as far as 100 yards. But Jam Miller doing it? No, I don't think so.
Oh, I would easily take the over on a team rushing for 100. Lushawn, do you have something? I saw you throw the pin up.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment and ask you guys something. This is a night game, correct?
Correct.
How are the Georgia Bulldogs going to do with the light show? I feel like a lot of their team doesn't do well when it comes to flashing lights. So is that going to
PTSD? Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying.
Hands up already.
You think we're gonna hit him with the blue lights?
All I know is dogs aren't good with flashing lights.
Oh, no, they are not. No, they are not.
That could have been the problem in Kentucky.
No, there was the blue right there. Maybe a red light was going off over top, and they didn't know what to do.
All I'm saying.
Chris James, yes or no? Jam hit 100 yards.
No, but I will tell you who will have 100 yards.
Who?
Jalen Milroe.
Love it. Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show. We will be back next Tuesday to break down the game, everything you need to know. Go ahead and put a pin in that. Mark your calendars. Tell your wife, honey, I'm sorry, I just can't take out the trash this evening. The final whistle is on. Before we get out of here, we have to promote all of the other shows on the Bama Standard. Petty, let them know the lineup.
Oh man, so okay, we're the last of tonight. Tomorrow at 6:30 Central, we have the Crimson Dynasty with C.C. Payne, Hannah Stevens, and our man Dan James right below us. Keep it. I mean, I think those ladies keep him in order most of the night. Followed directly by Teague's Take. You're not going to want to miss this one. This is Teague breaking down film, and I think I think it's tomorrow night. He's got an unbelievable guest. And Roman Harper coming on the show. So look, man, Bama legend, you're not going to want to miss that. And well, there's going to be no post game Saturday because obviously we're off. And then Sunday night, talking Bama with JT and the boys, Tucker Marshall, all of them, man. Go hit them up. JB, man, one of the best shows out there. Hot right now. Don't want to miss them. But then on Monday night, the opening kick with me, Gerald Smoke Dixon. And we got a special guest coming up, George Foster, left tackle for the Georgia Bulldogs and 6-year vet with the Denver Broncos. So a Georgia Bulldog legend, former pro, gonna wrap some Georgia, Alabama with us next Monday night. So you're not gonna want to miss Smoke and George Foster going at it head to head, talking Georgia, Alabama. And that and then of course always Tuesday nights here with my Avengers on the final whistle.
I was about to say.
Yeah, sorry, man.
I
gotta throw my love for my main homies at the end here.
You were gonna get a mailbag question from me, had you not?
Hey, asshole.
He was gonna get a doorstep visit from me.
You're gonna get a peace lint for me for not mentioning the Bama Standard.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
Wait, hold on. Well, that was tonight. We passed that.
You promoted your show, so why not ours?
Well, that's Monday. We got to roll. Y'all,
See me after practice.
You're gonna have to do up
You
down.
running laps.
You did not know on Tuesday nights, the flagship, the Bama Standard, Justin Riley, Marvin Constant, Stephen M. Smith, Gerald Smoke Dixon, Steve Brown, man, just an all-star lineup. Tonight they had Tim Keenan. If you missed it, go back and watch. Hell of a show. And then they had a writer from Tennessee with them, and I'm gonna screw up his name. I should know it, but they did have a guy with Tennessee. He'll get you all kind of fired up about the ball. So go back and check out the earlier tonight show, and then again always on Tuesday at 6 Central, the Bama Standard.
I'm with you, Lou. Orange, yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's gross, Petty. No one cares about orange.
God, we're about to be in that month where everything is orange. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. We're going to go around, let everybody know where you can find all of these guys. I'll start. You can find me at Around the Table Sports. You can find me on Bleacher Report. You can find me here. Anywhere where they lend me a microphone to rant, that's probably where I'll be. And I can tell you where I won't be because I don't like bad football, and that's watching Auburn. Because, my God, I think Peyton Thorne just threw another interception. Cal's defense is on top because of that. LaShawn, where can they find you at?
You know, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Lucian Graves. You can find me on X, Rolu241. You can find me doing some research on who is more likely to find massage parlor bottles, Peyton Thorne's new agent in the transfer portal, or Diddy's defense attorney.
Or Hugh Freeze. Don't forget,
I'm getting there. Or most importantly, Hugh Freeze's hideaway in Tokyo, which they just recently discovered. So it's going to be interesting to see what they discover in that one. And as always, most importantly, Daniel Petty, you can find me right here Tuesday night, making sure that there ain't no Orange, Auburn, Tennessee, any other disgusting orange team in our chat trying to create havoc against the Tide. Because like always, we don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Roll it.
Love it. Dan the man, where can they find you at?
You know, all right, Petty already told y'all the shows. You know, make sure y'all tune in tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central, the Crimson Dynasty. Catch me on X at the Final Whistle Dan. Catch me on Instagram, Dan James IV. And y'all make sure y'all be safe, you know, be diligent, you know what I'm saying? And hit that like and subscribe button, you know, hit it, you know, hit that little button down at the bottom of the screen or left, wherever it is, somewhere down there. You know, y'all make sure y'all hit that and show your support for this channel. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the super chat. Jimmy Clay, man, you're always awesome. You know, we love it, man.
Oh man, Jimmy Clay, you the man.
You the man, Jimmy.
The man.
Followed closely by Chris Williams.
Well, speaking of Chris Williams, he's rubbing his hands together like he's got some dastardly plan. Chris, where can they find you?
Hey, y'all can find me on Facebook at Chris K. James Sr. You can find me on Instagram at final_Whistle_Chris. You can find me on X at Coach Chris James. And you can find me here every Tuesday night with the Avengers, man, the greatest cast in America. Matter of fact, in the world. You can also catch me here joking on Chris Williams because this man said Auburn is trending upwards. Upwards where? Where they going?
The upper room.
Well, listen, when you're at the bottom, there's only one way you can go.
Only one way you can trend.
So
I don't know,
I
unless
will
you're
give
Auburn.
him that.
Well, unless you're Auburn.
Well,
and you can stay.
well, when you cover yourself in that much baby oil, you can really go anywhere. Let's face it.
I found out what they're doing with the baby oil. They confiscated from Diddy's place. You know, they donated to Chris so he can fry his gizzard.
There you go. There you go. Hey, it's effective.
Hugh Freeze massage parlor.
It's effective. And finally, last but not least, Daniel Petty, where can they find you?
Man, like I said, you can always find me here on Tuesday nights with the greatest crew, the Avengers, at the Final Whistle. And again, on Monday nights, the opening kick when my boy Smoke. Sometimes Hannah shows up, but we got great guests. See you back there, Justin. You can find me on Twitter at Petty_Daniel and on Facebook at Petty, Petty. I'm watching our producer lose his shit right now. That's where you can get me. And you cannot find me in Lee County where there's wanted posters of me. But you can't see the wanted posters because they have all the lube bottles stacked up because Hugh Freeze had them shipped down for him.
Yeah, we're never gonna see those lube bottles.
He had to knock off Diddy's evidence trailer because he was running out in Auburn. So,
hey, listen.
There's that.
He's environmentally conscious, right? Why go get new when there is used to be had? But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show, and we will see you next Tuesday. Until then, as always, roll tide.
Roll
Tide.
That's the bottom line. Why? Because Stone Cold said so.